TV weatherman Bill Murray on location for Groundhog Day. Marissa Tomei falls for mysterious Christian Slater in Untamed Heart. And Michelle Pfeiffer makes a journey of discovery in Love Field.
That's Mars.
Waitress Marissa Tomei falls in love with dishwasher Christian Slater in the working-class love story called Untamed Heart. It's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with Bill Murray's new comedy and Michelle Pfeiffer's new drama. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is Untamed Heart, and this is sort of a fairy tale with dishwater hands. A romantic story about a night shift waitress and a kitchen helper who fall in love against all the odds. The movie stars Marissa Tomei as the young waitress and Christian Slater as the quiet, mysterious kid who works in the kitchen. Late one night, she's attacked while walking home, and he saves her, and that inspires the first time they really talk.
That's as scared as I've ever been in my whole life. I just get swirls in my stomach thinking about it. Don't take this the wrong way. Thank you.
The movie stars the inimitable Rosie Perez as Tomei's co-worker and best friend, who is insatiably curious about gossip involving romance.
Look at him. Looks like a tumor sitting over there. And his hair, oh God, it just bothers me so much. You know, Lottie says that he has 8 parts in him or something like that, I don't know. Oh my God. Lottie. What a story. Or whatever. Too bad, though. He's kind of cute. I do him.
It turns out the Slater character has a bad heart and believes the fanciful story he was told about it by nuns at an orphanage. As their love story develops, it more and more takes on the nature of a romantic fantasy in which the real world recedes in the face of their dreams.
I'm afraid if they take away my heart, I won't be able to love you the same. You are my peace.
Oh my God. You love with your mind and your soul. Not actually with your heart. It's just a saying.
If I had to find one word to describe Untamed Heart, it would be sweet. Other words would include poignant and romantic and goofy. The best elements in the movie are Marissa Tomei's gentle and caring quality and the slightly ethereal plane on which Slater seems to exist. Love has been under fire in a lot of recent movies, but here's one that's an unabashedly romantic tearjerker.
Oh, Roger, I liked it an awful lot. And I think that you focused on one thing that really, I think, distinguishes the film, and that's Marissa Tomei's character.
Yes.
This is, now here's a woman that we saw in My Cousin Vinny in a comic role, broadly comic, and she was terrific.
And she was in Chaplin, too, remember?
She, here now, gives a performance, I think, that really marks her as a complete actress, because this is a romantic film, and what you watch here is the rooting interest that you have, because the story is odd, and some of the writing is purple, is her heart. You're focused on her. This is a good person. We want this woman to be in love. She deserves it. She deserves it for herself. She deserves it for the care that she gives to the people around her, as a professional, as a waitress, and then as a potential lover. It's a beautiful performance. It's a terrific film.
The movie was directed by Tony Bill, and one of the things I liked about it is the fact that even though he gets a real gritty milieu, which is an all-night diner in Minneapolis, it really is a fairy tale. I mean, she goes home through the forest. She's attacked by wolves. The handsome prince saves her, is basically what it comes down to. and then all of his fantasies about the nature of his heart. It's an interesting film.
Well, I liked it, and again,
Yeah.
I think her work is really very special. Our
Yes,
next
it
film
is.
is a different kind of delight. It's called Strictly Ballroom, and it's a wonderful entertainment, too. A most enthusiastic melodrama set in the world of Australian ballroom dancing. Boy, do they ever take their dancing seriously down under. The story involves preparation for the Pan-Pacific Dance Championship and the 200 dogs who are destined to compete together and maybe win. First, there's Scott, who dances to his own internal drummer. He's more wild than the traditional ballroom dancer. And then there's Fran, the poor working-class girl in town, in sort of the ugly duckling role. She's a swan, however, when she dances. Here's their street-side rehearsal and courtship.
Well, see you at the state tomorrow.
Okay. Do you think the rumba's the right one to do?
Yeah. Les will love it.
I do too. The rumba, I mean.
Naturally, we also meet the favorites to win the competition. They're the bad guys, of course.
I want 10 railings to walk in here right now and say, Pam Short's broken both her legs and I want to dance with you.
Pam Short's broken both her legs, and I want to dance with you.
Already you can see the overhyped, campy style of the film, which is full of over-the-top bits that wink at us. Strictly Ballroom is a throwback to American musicals of the 40s that knew that the story wasn't as important as the dancing. But what makes this film special is that it has fun ridiculing those characters who take themselves more seriously than their dance steps. I had a very good time with this film.
You know, I took dancing lessons from Thelma
Yeah.
Lee Ritter upstairs over the Princess Theater on Main Street, and the earnestness with which dance was seen as the way that you could express yourself and meet members of the opposite sex and become successful and sophisticated and self-assured,
Yeah.
and all these promises that were fed to me when I was in the 7th grade are apparently promises that all these people believe, that through dance their entire lives are going to be acted out, and they're so earnest about it in
Yeah.
this comedy that it's even doubly
Well,
funny.
okay, I think that, that what's going on here is a little different than what you were experiencing. You were doing sort of social dancing. This
Yeah.
is competitive. I think these
I know,
people
yeah.
are so weird that this is a world that they can succeed in, and frankly, the real world scares the hell out of them, you know? This is the world that they like, with all its little rules.
It's unlike any other comedy I've seen, and it is fun.
Very
When we
good.
come back, Bill Murray is a weatherman trapped in a time warp in Groundhog Day.
1,000 people freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat.
I hope you enjoyed the festivities.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to.
There's talk of a blizzard.
Well, we may catch a break, and that blizzard's going to blow right by us. All of this moisture coming up out of the south, by midday, is probably going to push on to the east of us. And at high altitudes, it's going to crystallize and give us what we call snow.
Bill Murray is a mean and grouchy and nasty weatherman there, unhappy that he's been dispatched to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to cover Groundhog Day. He's the kind of self-centered, short-tempered egotist who makes life miserable for everyone. Then something funny happens. He wakes up the next morning, and it's still Groundhog Day. And he runs into all the same people, and they say all the same things. Murray is the only one who realizes that time is repeating itself.
See the groundhog? Think it'll be in early spring.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
This is one of the best scenes in the film as the weatherman tries to find sympathy from the locals for his dilemma.
What would you do if you were stuck in one place and every day was exactly the same and nothing that you did mattered? That about sums it up for me.
Murray's producer is played by Andy McDowell, and like everyone else, she can't stand him. But since he can live the same day over and over and over again, he can ask people questions one day and know the answers the next. It's a great seduction technique.
Well, what should we drink to?
To the groundhog.
I always drink to world peace.
Can I buy you a drink?
Okay.
Sweet vermouth, rocks with a twist, please.
For you, miss?
The same. That's my favorite drink.
Mine, too. It always makes me think of Rome. The way the sun hits the buildings in the afternoon.
Well, what should we drink to?
I like to say a prayer and drink to world peace.
To world peace.
World peace.
Groundhog Day was directed by Bill Murray's old Ghostbusters buddy, Harold Ramis, and together they've made a surprisingly good-hearted fable that sort of made me think of movies like It's a Wonderful Life. Basically, this is a story that boils down to a guy living one day at a time, over and over, until he finally gets it right. The film starts out as a comedy and ends up as the sort of fable that Frank Capra might have directed, and it really grew on me.
It did on me, too, and I'm glad that in addition to the more spiritual side of the film, that also Bill Murray, it was perfectly designed for Bill Murray because he puts down everything all the time in his film, and here he's putting down himself until it doubles back on him. It's just a good script, the right actor with it, and Harold Ramis does a very nice job. I liked it, too.
And you know, there's a real nice sense of the town there. I guess it was shot in Woodstock, Illinois, but it looks like the town in It's a Wonderful Life or some of those Capra towns, all the white frame fences and the insurance man on Main Street and the local people, and you get a real feeling for the fact that their normality is kind of a cure for Murray's
big city
citizens.
Yeah, it works out very, very well. Coming up next, Michelle Pfeiffer's new film. She plays a Dallas housewife who just adores Jack and Jackie Kennedy. Love Field is next.
What I want, Peter, is to go to my president's funeral.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
That's, of course, Michelle Pfeiffer as a 1960s Texas housewife who has modeled her clothes and hairstyle and her spirit after her hero, Jacqueline Kennedy. And when President Kennedy is assassinated in Pfeiffer's Dallas hometown, it sets in motion the story of Love Field, in which Pfeiffer, in mourning, leaves her brutish husband. Women always have brutish husbands in movies like this. And she takes a cross-country bus trip to the funeral in Washington, D.C. On the bus, the talkative Pfeiffer befriends a black man, Dennis Haysbert, and his daughter. Remember, this is 1963, and white women generally weren't doing this sort of thing. By the way, see if you find Pfeiffer's accent a little too forced. I did.
That's enough now, Janelle. Don't bother the lady.
She's too quiet to be bothered. I was the same way at her age. Wouldn't open my mouth anyway.
Naturally, they get into trouble on the road, and Haysbert's character wants to lose Pfeiffer real quick. Some of the writing here is a little too theatrical. He's forced to talk for effect rather than just walk away.
Man, when I saw you bearing down on me in that bus, I knew I should have run. You can't be nice to some people. You give them an inch because you feel sorry for them.
Sorry for me.
And they keep dogging you and dogging you, tell you.
Another forced argument occurs later in the film in a barn.
I thought we understood each other. Well, we're both running, aren't we? We're both wanting something more.
Don't you dare think that we're the same. Being bored and being black are different. Do you hear that?
I much preferred those rare moments when Pfeiffer and Haysbert's fake feuding takes a backseat to more credible characters they meet on the road.
And I got no luck with cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's bad luck that you run from, bad luck that you bring along with you.
Hell, man, I only have to put up with it as far as Washington.
You must be crazy, man. You got a white woman riding in your car around here, you best have her riding in the back seat.
I like that scene, but fake feuds and Michelle Pfeiffer's overdone accent are really what bothered me in Love Field. But I was impressed with Dennis Haysbert. He's had smaller roles in such films as Major League and Navy SEALs and Mr. Baseball. He's effective now as a lead. He's more believable, I think, even than the role he's been given. He's the best reason to see Love Field, but I'm still giving the movie thumbs down.
I've got to vote thumbs down, too, and I'll tell you why. I think the original setup, this woman who worships Jackie Kennedy and wants to go to Washington to see the funeral, and the relationship with the man she meets on the bus, would have been more interesting if they hadn't been plugged into the automatic pilot Hollywood plot machine
of a race
that involves all of that business about they steal a car and the cops are chasing them and they're fugitives and you know they lose what the movie is about in all of these prefabricated plot setups.
It should be about two specific people
at
a specific time, but it's just what I was saying. When he is talking to her and feuding with her, it is mechanically plot-driven. It is not credible. This is not what bright people, how they would be relating to each other.
Absolutely right. When we come back, Riff-Raff, a slice-of-life comedy about a gang of British construction workers. Our next movie is a rough and blunt portrait of working-class life in London, but in many ways it could also apply to the construction trades in this country. It's called Riff-Raff, and it takes place mostly on a construction site where a gang of hard-working laborers are rehabbing old buildings to make them into luxury flats. Because of the many regional British accents in the film, it uses subtitles to help out American and British audiences.
I'm thinking again. You are going to Africa? Yeah. To do what? I don't know. It just really appeals to me. I just got to go. You want to discover your roots? Yeah, well, and among other things. It is not so simple, my friend. What can you do? Are you an engineer? No, I'm not. Are you an accountant? No, I'm not. Do you have any skill? No, but I can learn.
The hero of the film, played by Ricky Tomlinson, has egalitarian left-wing political views. When he finds a way to get into a model apartment, he sees it as a perfect opportunity to use a rich man's bathtub.
Another bathroom here, which I think you'll find very impressive.
After Tomlinson complains about safety conditions, he's told he'll get his answer on Thursday, and he does. He's fired. The way he takes this news is one of the best moments in the film.
Another one in Liverpool out of work won't make any difference. Fine. Mind you, I can always get back there, can't I? Keep your place warm when there's always you.
Riff-Raff was directed by Ken Loach, who has been making angry, socially critical films for more than 20 years now. We both admired his great movie, Kess.
About the Kestrel Hawk.
That's right. This is his first comedy, if that's the right word for a movie this hard-hitting. It has the feel and authenticity of a documentary, and it reflects the alienation of a lot of British workers from the political establishment. All of the actors in this movie, by the way, were required to have construction experience, and somehow you can feel they're at home on the job. This is an unusual movie and a good one.
A very good one, I think. In fact, there's something about the situation on film of showing a group of workers in a project together. We saw it in Jerzy Skolimowski's Moonlighting a number of years ago, also building in London. And here, I think what you see is obviously a microcosm of society and how people can or fail to work together and the forces that are pretty much, it's a perfect little vehicle because as the building goes, so goes their lives. It's done very well here. The film is properly angry and properly revealing about the faults within the workers and their bosses. It's not totally, I don't think, one side, not totally. There's shared responsibility for what happens in this film.
It's very interesting the way that these people who are building this luxury flat are not even being paid wages that allow them to live in a flat of their own, and it's a big point in the film that they're squatters, that they break into abandoned flats and they live there. They move from city to city. They're living at the poverty level and supplying these flats for the rich people, and that, of course, is, I think, the underlying point of the film.
That's very important, and as a result, their work is shoddy because they're depressed, and that means that the bosses treat them even worse, and it's a terrible vicious cycle. And the other thing that's interesting, which is surprising in the film, is that you do get an offbeat, very credible love story going on here without it seeming romanticized in the phony way that we were just talking about Love Field. Very good film.
Right. Okay, coming up next, the video pick of the week, two often requested Oscar-winning Best Picture movies that are only now being released on home video.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
Everyone is familiar with this situation. You go to your if they have a copy of a big-name, award-winning film, and they tell you they don't, and you don't believe them, you can't believe this 40-year-old film is not yet available on tape. Well, good news, two such films are now available from the Fox Video Library. First is Gentleman's Agreement, the Oscar-winning Best Picture of 1947 with Gregory Peck as a reporter investigating anti-posing as a Jewish man.
Look, I'm Jewish, and you don't take Jews. That's it, isn't it?
I never said that.
If you don't accept Jews, say so.
Don't raise your voice to me, Mr. Green. You speak a little more quietly, please.
Do you or don't you?
Also newly available is How Green Was My Valley, the Oscar-winning Best Picture of 1941, beating out Citizen Kane, director John Ford's tearjerker about growing up in a Welsh mining village.
Evil fell under a trap.
Both How Green Was My Valley and Gentleman's Agreement do feel a little dated, a little slow now, but their passion is admirable. More important, they are, at long last, easily available to be studied and enjoyed. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on the show this week. 2 thumbs up for Tony Bill's Untamed Heart, with a star-making performance by Marissa Tomei as a compassionate waitress who finds love. 2 more thumbs up for Strictly Ballroom, the campy Australian dance competition melodrama. It's great fun. 2 more thumbs up for Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, a great vehicle for its star and his co-star, Andie MacDowell. 2 thumbs down, however, on Love Field with Michelle Pfeiffer and Dennis Haysbert. And 2 more thumbs up for Ken Loach's gritty Riff-Raff, the story of London laborers at work and at play and in love. It's a very strong film. Look for it. It moves slowly around the country. So this is a terrific show because we got 4 out of the 5 films we really like a lot.
How long have we agreed on? How long has it been since we have agreed on all 5 films?
I think that's happened more often, frankly, than 4 out of 5 really good films.
Yeah, it is a good week at the movies. So that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with Falling Down, starring Michael Douglas as a laid-off defense worker who goes on a rampage across Los Angeles. Plus our annual reactions, both happy and astonished, to the Academy Award nominations, which will be announced on Wednesday. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
It's America's favorite jelly bean, Jelly Belly, now appearing at theaters and video stores with good taste. Jelly Belly beans, try them, you'll love them. Easy Spirit walking shoes for those who want to get even further away from it all. Easy Spirit, our difference is our cushioning. Coricidin for use at the first sign of a cold or flu. It'll relieve all your major symptoms fast and help keep them from getting worse. Coricidin D, the sooner the better. Fashion Buck, 1,200 stores carrying the latest in junior, Mrs., plus, girls, and men's fashions. 1-800-FB-FITS and the letter U. Fashion Buck fits your life.